Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac. I am psyched for today's show. We had a couple big surprise appearances on Late Night. I can't wait to tell you about story number 2. But let's start with The Daily Show. A surprise guest walked on, got a big ovation. And here's a clip. I've clipped it down for pacing, but you'll recognize this voice.
That young John Oliver?
Yes.
Are you here to offer America your wisdom and counsel?
Oh, no, John. I am here to gloat. America had its little fun, didn't you, in experimenting with democracy. You fought so hard to get away from us, acting up, throwing all that tea into the harbour. You still owe us for that, by the way. You told everybody that you were going to be different. You weren't going to turn out like your mean old dad who was so horrible to you when you were growing up, so we sat back. We let you spend your wild teen years experimenting with your ridiculous ideas of checks and balances because deep down we knew that once you got that nonsense out of your system, you'd be backed. In fact, if I may sing from Hamilton.
I'd appreciate not.
That's fair. What I'm saying is, let me be the first to welcome America to its monarchy era. Congratulations, everyone. You can now take your place in the pantheon of great empires alongside the British, the Roman, the Klingon, Wakanda, whatever one Babar the elephant was the ruler of, I forget.
Oliver went on to say, don't fight being a monarchy, embrace it. Kings get stuff done. Is it stuff you want done? Not necessarily, but they do move quick. They taste cumin at lunch and take over an entire continent by dinner time. That's how the British roll. F for everyone else, they're not like us. I see what you did there. For a country that doesn't want to be an empire, you're doing a pretty effing good impression right now. Invasions, economic exploitations, and now suggesting turning Gaza into a beachfront casino. Even King George would have been like, I don't know, guys. Feel like the situation's a little bit more complicated than that, and I'm literally dying of medieval brain disease. Meanwhile, on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, David Letterman showed up and was the David Letterman that I'm a fan of. This was Dave deconstructing loose, like classic Dave, even though despite the gray hair and the beard reminded me of NBC Dave more than CBS Dave. I've clipped this down. A lot of it is visual, especially at the end. They start throwing stuff at the stage. You'll hear there's also a bit where Fallon asked Dave if he wants to read any jokes. I've clipped out where Dave flipped through a whole bunch of cue cards going, no. But let me give you a taste of this. This is David Letterman on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
David Letterman, what are you doing here?
Is this the 23rd hour of the Today Show?
No. This is the Tonight Show.
Jimmy?
Yeah.
Oh my, Paul, what are you doing here?
You know, it's a funny story. How you've ever taken too much Ambien and then you wake up somewhere with no clue how the hell you got there?
Wow, you've been reading my diary. Listen, Paul and I, right? Paul used to do a show.
We sure did.
Pretty much exactly like this.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't do the Chuck E. Cheese crap, but we
thought there was something different about it.
It's very similar.
Hey, David, since you're here, would you like to tell some jokes?
I'm good, thanks.
All right, well, hey, that's interesting. Thank you, Dave, what are you doing now that you're retired?
Oh, like I need to tell you, TikTok. Made an enormous deal with the Chinese government.
Yeah, how about we make a viral video right now?
Oh, my God, I'm dreaming. Yes, let's do that.
Let's do this.
Exactly.
Paul, can you help us out?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, this would be great. A viral video.
Yeah, so this will be a viral video.
It's exciting.
Yeah, vertically.
Okay,
Yeah,
what?
vertically.
Yeah,
Good.
okay.
This is good. All right.
But what I would really like to do is hit you in the face with a tortilla.
Yeah.
Huh?
People don't. No.
What? Wait a minute. I'm not promoting violence.
No, I know
It's just
you.
a TikTok thing. And typically, I travel with tortillas. Not tonight. I left them in the car. Anybody? Do we have anybody here with anybody have a tortilla? Do we have it? Okay. Hit me right in the beard. I'll get one.
You want to?
Okay.
That one. He's right. Hey, not bad.
Thank you very much.
That's good.
Interesting one from the Campus Times, which is the University of Rochester's student newspaper. A student went to see a show and wrote, Michael Che's Winterfest set welcomes lackluster comedy and announces his exit from SNL. Now, let's tap the brakes there. Che, pretty much every year, announces that he's leaving SNL. That said, if you're going to leave SNL, I think this is the year to walk off after this big 50th anniversary thing this weekend and the rest of the season. I think from here it's diminishing returns. Lorne Michaels is 80. Is he sticking around? I guess so. But I could see some massive cast departures after this year. I could see Bowen walking away. You know, on the one hand, if you're Jost and Che, it's steady work, sit there for another 10 years. But on the other hand, I could see them going, it's time to get out. Anyway, the Campus Times writes, Che's performance was part of the big Winterfest weekend, which usually features a big-ticket performer. As the featured performer for this year, there was an air of uncertainty about Che's potential for stand-up comedy since many attendees had only seen him on SNL. Still, as it was the big-ticket performer, the first floor was nearly filled with people. So does that suggest there's a second floor that's empty and the first floor was nearly filled? Yikes. I feel like the writer here is inexperienced in comedy and means well. Next paragraph, the event was slated to start around 8, but Che set foot on stage about 10 minutes after the start time. Okay, I mean, that's not crazy. Have you been to a live show? So he walked on what, 8:09, 8:11? It's okay. Che began by talking about how he wasn't used to doing stand-up performances before starting by making jokes about Rochester. He seemed, at first, to be well received by the audience. The student writes, as I experienced his work live, I thought the performance was relatively stereotypical in terms of subject matter, topics surrounding the local environment, jabs at racism, hammed up personal experiences, cultural references, sex jokes, and more. He seemed to have prepared a few jokes, but around the middle of his set, his jokes seemed to lose direction. Che seemed to fill the crowd silence with awkward laughs and rambled as a replacement for unwritten jokes. Sounds to me like Che used this as half a workout in a half-empty room. None of this is crazy to me. Campus Times continues. At the beginning of the night, Che mentioned that he was sober, but by the end of the night, he reminded me of a rambling drunk, mumbling under his breath and laughing to himself. Notably, Che mentioned that he may be leaving SNL. He had been considering leaving for several seasons, but only publicly and definitively brought it up during the performance. Quoting Che here, and we'll see if this gets media pickup. This is my last season. I'm not coming back. Don't worry, I'm done. It's over for me. It's been so much fun. It's a little emotional. It's bittersweet. We learned the night was supposed to end at 9, but Che extended his stay for another 25 minutes, talking to the audience and going off on small tangents. But the Campus Times writes, instead of being captivating, Che's performance held the concert hall captive. As the hall emptied out, I overheard chatter of how the end felt like Che was just running out the clock. While the set wasn't the worst comedy I'd ever seen, in retrospect, it lacked uniqueness and dragged at the end unnecessarily. To me, it sounds like Che just was throwing, 3/4 heat in a not full room. Not crazy to me. Will he actually leave SNL? Who knows? Amy Schumer was on Bravo and had advice for Conan O'Brien hosting the Oscars. Schumer said, my advice to him would be to make sure there's no beef beforehand with people like Chris Rock and Will Smith. Just maybe check that out. That's the advice I wish I was given. And then as I read that, so the first time I saw the headline, my brain translated Amy into Amy Poehler, thinking Amy Poehler's out there doing press and, she went on Bravo to promote her podcast. And then I was like, oh, wait, this is Amy Schumer. And then my brain really went, oh my goodness, Amy Schumer hosted the Oscars. Like, that's a thing that happened. If I walked up to you today in 2025 and I said, hey, you know who's hosting the Oscars? Amy Schumer. Wouldn't you look at me like I'm insane? Boy, she has really fallen off a cliff. Like, there's no way in 2025, 2026, Amy Schumer's hosting the Oscars. No way. I totally forgot that happened. I mean, you think of that night, you almost picture Chris Rock hosting the night because, that was the big story in 2022. That was the year Amy Schumer, Regina Hall, and Wanda Sykes were the hosts of the Oscars. Slash Film reports that Amy Schumer's new comedy is #1 on Netflix. Schumer #1 in 48 countries, including the United States. Slash Film says, in fact, in those 48 countries, Kinda Pregnant has been #1 since its debut in 33 of them. As of Monday, Kinda Pregnant was charting in 92 countries, with only Vietnam refusing to indulge Schumer's comedy stylings. Although the Vietnamese did watch enough to send it to the #8 spot for a little bit. Kinda Pregnant is currently #2 in a further 24 countries. Congratulations, Amy Schumer. Let's see, I've got a story here about Pete Davidson and tattoos. We'll bump that to tomorrow. There's a lot of Felipe Esparza stuff, too. Let me hold on to that, because I want to dive in on this, and I think this might take a minute. Peter Kay, UK comedian, seems to be embroiled in a little kerfluffle. So the Sun newspaper reports Peter's doing a show. He's repeatedly interrupted by a heckler screaming out, "Garlic bread," apparently one of Peter Kay's catchphrases. Peter responds to the heckler, "Garlic bread, kick him in the effing face, will ya?" Everyone around you is thinking, jerky face, cleaning that up. Peter then demands a light be put on the heckler, according to the Sun newspaper, and points him out to security guard Keith, declaring, "Give us a wave, jerk face," cleaning that up again. Look at him. He doesn't know where he is. And then leads a chant of "You're going out." Peter encourages people to film the person and then calls him Garlic dead. Peter continues, "He's not laughing now, is he?" At that point, a woman from the other side of the arena starts yelling, prompting Peter to say, "Christ almighty bloody hell, I love Saturdays. All right, love, we heard you. Take her out and all," and points her out to the security guard as, quote, "the woman in the black and white top from Debenham's Blue Cross." The Sun reports that at that point, the audience stopped laughing. I'm not sure what that reference means. I tried Googling it, can't figure it out. I'm a dumb American. If you know what that means, my email is in the show notes, or hit me up on the Facebook group. Would love to know what the reference from Debenham's Blue Cross means. It seems to be some sort of store. Anyway, the audience stops laughing. Peter says, "You're going to flower now and all. You've upset every bugger out there. Go on out, you pop. You've missed the ending and everything. What a shame, you effing big gob drinking de-icer. Go on, Lisa Riley, F off." The woman appeared confused. Peter Kay tells the crowd to cheer if she was effing annoying before telling the woman no refunds as she was ejected. So the Lisa Riley reference. Lisa is an English actress, comedian, and TV presenter, best known for portraying the role of Mandy Dingle on the ITV soap opera Emmerdale. Lisa Riley responded to the joke. Riley posted on Instagram a photo of herself that says, "Keep calm and laugh, it's funny." In a follow-up post on Tuesday, she told her followers she was not offended, saying she loves Peter Kay to pieces. "Please draw a line under this now. I am not offended, never was offended. I love Peter Kay to pieces. Laughter is my favorite medicine." The woman, the second heckler, 25-year-old Meyer, told the Manchester Evening News, "I do feel he was on about my weight. I know Lisa Riley has lost a lot of weight and she looks great, but she used to be a bit bigger. I didn't used to be this big. I've put on a bit of weight on. I've had a child. I'm self-conscious about that, so to go to a show and feel like you're having the mick taken out of you because of your weight, I was just a bit shocked. I'm annoyed and upset about it. The whole arena was laughing. I think they thought it was part of the show, but there was a nastiness to his voice. It was like he was trying to get the crowd against me. It just wasn't nice, to be honest. I did have a cry about it after I got to the hotel room. I was just so upset. It was just a very rubbish situation. My whole family was disgusted by it." On Tuesday, Peter released a statement to Good Morning Britain. The statement read, "She did look remarkably like Lisa Riley. I didn't realize that was an insult. There comes a point when dealing with repeated hecklers simply isn't enough. It's not something that you ever want to do, but becomes a point where it's no longer fair to everyone around." An audience member said, "The audience was mixed. Some couldn't believe it and were obviously annoyed. Others were laughing, either thinking it was part of the show or going along with it. It was out of order, and he was clearly annoyed at something. There was no need to escalate the situation to that extreme." Another attendee on Twitter said, "I lost a lot of respect for Peter Kay after the way he treated the heckler. No manners, huge waste of money." Another fan said Kay killed the atmosphere in the arena. Peter Phillips, the first heckler, was evicted alongside his son after shouting "garlic bread." Peters told Mail Online, "It was me who shouted out garlic bread. A lot of people just stood up and walked out when they saw how we were dragged out. In the first half of the show, I shouted out garlic bread, and they zoomed in on the camera on me, and I put my thumbs up and thought everything was okay. I got no warning or anything. People around us were laughing and joking. Then the second half of the show, I said it again, garlic bread, and that's when the security guards came over to me and said, 'You're going to have to leave. Peter Kay doesn't like people shouting out.'" Yeah, dude, you're not part of the show. Just watch the show. You're not part of it. I said, "Are you joking?" as I thought they were going to warn me off, but they stood me up, brought me to the stairs, which were dead steep. I have massive bruises in my leg. I haven't been able to walk properly at work today. My arms are covered in bruises. Apparently, some stadium police officers spoke to the heckler. I said to the officers, "We've just been thrown out brutally, and all I've done is shout out garlic bread. If we'd done anything wrong, the police would have arrested us. I just can't understand it. All I said was garlic bread." That's my favorite joke of his. I've loved Peter Kay forever. I've watched him on CarShare. I watch him on TikTok all the time, and I've always wanted to see him live. I loved watching him. People came up to us when we were outside and sat on the steps saying they left because of that. I'm absolutely disgusted for a comedian to not even give us a warning or a bit of banter back. I never said anything abruptly, and when I did shout it out, I waited until he stopped talking, not in the middle of his joke or anything. There were so many thousands of people in there. We were getting pinned to the floor like rag dolls, throwing us around like pieces of meat. As my friend said today, they're not a good comedian if they can't handle a bit of banter or shut someone down with a one-liner. Dude, it's a comedy show. Just go to the show and watch the comedian perform. You're not part of the show. Some audience members agree. One told the Mail Online, the guy he chucked out absolutely deserved it. He continued to make a nuisance of himself as the show went on. For those of us who sat beside him, he ruined the gig. As for the lady, she was a few seats behind, and the people she sat next to also commented that she'd been a huge pain and was disrupting the show for others. I'm glad Peter took a stand and removed them, as the show was being spoiled for a lot of people. And if people were so offended at the hecklers being chucked out, why did the crowd near them cheer loudly when they were removed? Another audience member, we all clapped when he got rid of them, and Peter in his own manner dealt with it very well. I thought he gave us what he wanted. It's what we all waited over 2 years for. All right, in other news, Vulture has a long article on Lorne Michaels. I read it. I don't have anything to say about it, but I did share it in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast group. On Monday, NBC announced a lineup of former cast members who will be on the special on Sunday night. Those include Eddie Murphy, Tina Fey, Seth Meyers, Will Ferrell, Andy Samberg, and Adam Sandler. Also returning Chevy Chase, Garrett Morris, Jane Curtin, and Lorraine Newman. On Gossip Corner, Bill Belichick's girlfriend hung out with Nikki Glazer at the Super Bowl. Just some pictures, no news story there. On page 6, Shaq wants the next roast to be about him. He says, because I don't get sensitive, and that girl that killed Tom Brady, I want her. What's her name? Her name is Nikki Glazer. Nikki, you can say whatever you want about me, my mama, my kids. Let's do it. Yeah, because I don't get sensitive. I like to laugh. I think Tom got a little offended with some of the jokes, but I can take it all. Are you a fan of Green Day? Well, they're making a new comedy movie inspired by their early days touring before Dookie became a hit. The film is currently in production in Oklahoma. South by Southwest previewed some of their comedy stuff. That includes Scott Aukerman's Comedy Bang Bang Live podcast. I understand that that's super popular. In my comedy career, it's the only show that I've ever walked out of because I was bored. I was there with Mark, my host. We were in Chicago, and we were staring at each other, and we're like, are we going to actually leave a show? Because we don't leave shows. And we were like, there's just not enough time. It was bad. I get people like it. Obviously, I'm not a fan. James Adomian will play Elon Musk in a show. Quote unquote, Elon kicks off this year's comedy festival, joined by his most trusted advisors to share his plans for the future of Doge, social networking, and whatever else he can think of. The South by Southwest press release goes out of its way to say Elon Musk, again, definitely not the real Elon. There's also a spotlight on LA comedy. They're going to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Hollywood Improv. Interesting choice of comedian here. Celebrating the 50th anniversary of LA's legendary Hollywood Improv, returning to the festival with SNL alum Melissa Villaseñor and other club favorites. I'm not sure Melissa's the first one I think of as the Improv, but who knows? The Elysian Theater, the center of LA's burgeoning clown movement, is bringing their flavor of experimental, outrageous performances to the Comedy Fest. And South by encourages you to donate to the World Central Kitchen's relief efforts. Definitely a good cause there that I've talked about a few times on my other podcast, 5 Good News Stories, where 3 times a week, Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, I tell you 5 news stories, which are all good news, if you want to check that one out. So I am familiar with what the World Central Kitchen has been up to. All right, that is your comedy news for today. Bounced a couple stories, but better that than earlier in the week. It was a little thin, so nice to have a good, robust episode. We'll see you tomorrow.